So, a busy day yesterday, 3 incomings.
Good morning.
Oh, good morning. We'll get that on there.
Good morning, yeah. It's not just been a busy day, really. You know, like I said, it takes a long time for things to drop. So, I suppose it ends up being busy because there's a lot that needs to be done on the last day. You know, as I've said, there's quite a bit that goes into transfers, really. It's just been a busy period all round, and you know, the people who decide to put these windows in, I have to say this morning, because the people who put these windows in, it's not designed, you know, they can put the rules in, but they haven't got to abide by them. And they're poor rules, really. I understand at the top level that we need the Premier League to probably fall in with the French League, the Spanish League, etc. I get all of that. But to not have loans continue and have these long windows, all it does is it puts players, managers, chairmen up and down the country under stress and duress that no one needs to be under. And I think there's lots of rules in football that have changed for the good of the game, but I actually don't think that helps anybody. And what happens is the richer clubs can stockpile, and then everybody has to fight around for the rest and undercut people, and you know, all the ducking and diving that goes on, and it's poor, really, and it shouldn't be like that, and it doesn't need to be like that. But going back to ourselves, obviously we're happy with the business that we ended up doing throughout the whole of the window. Really, it's been really, really difficult, but we're happy with the business we've done, and thank God, you know, that window has shut now, really.
Yeah, because you've said before that the nature of how the window's been, that a lot would come down to the end. So
it always does.
Yeah,
it always does, because what happens is it's a knock-on effect from what happens at the top level. So players in the Premier League that are not going to play or not going to be in the squad won't go down to the Championship until they know, and the managers in the Premier League can't afford to let those players go until they get in, whoever they're trying to get in, and that might be from France, Spain, wherever in the world. So what I just explained there happens in the Championship, and then in League One, and then in League Two. So it's not an ideal scenario, and as I've said, you know, it puts a lot of stress into managers, chairmen, owners up and down the country that doesn't need to be there.
And you brought in a couple of attacking options with Rob Street and Christian Sadie. Just tell me about those players and what you've seen in them.
Young, energetic, will work hard, want to learn, competitive, the pair of them. You won't get an easy game against the pair of them. And just want to do well, and fit within our budget as well. So yeah, that's those two. I think they're early parts in their career. You know, what they've done is they've gone and done the hard yards, and I think, you know, what's going to happen with one of them, if not both of them, and you don't know that, and I don't want to put pressure on them, you know, they're going out on their second loans now, which is better. I always think the first loans are very, very hard for young players to have to go and live away from home. They might be moving away from their parents, and it's very, very difficult for them. And the two lads that we brought in are used to doing that now. So hopefully in that period of time they would have matured, learnt a lot, and hopefully they go on and have better careers than they've already had to date. Score a few goals, that'll definitely help them as well. And they're two really, really cracking young lads. They really are brilliant lads, and we're looking forward to working with them.
And how do they match up with the attacking options you've already got? Is it just they're going to bring some more competition to those that are already at the club?
Of course, that's the idea of it. You know, we need some competition, and those two will add it. And they're young players as well, so they'll add a good bit to the group, and I like that. You know, I like young players being around a group. You obviously need those experienced boys. You need that, because, you know, sometimes without the experienced boys, it's almost like players for today and players for tomorrow. and you've got to try and get that mix right. And I just think with the group that we've brought in the dressing room, I see them all getting on. I don't see any fractions. I don't see anything like that, and that's always very important.
And Carl Winchester, the latest addition last night, an experienced player, especially in League One, based off last season as well. Yeah,
I've known Carl for a long time, and we had a conversation last night when he was driving down, and I've known him for a long time. We didn't find out until late that he was available, but thankfully we did get to find out, because there were a couple of midfield options that we were discussing, but once Carl became available, 100% I wanted him, and that was a real bonus for us. And I've known him a long time. Obviously, I knew him when he was at Cheltenham, which is my hometown. I knew him when he was at Forest Green, and obviously I've followed his career, because I would have known him then from being at Sunderland. So I'm really pleased to have him. He's another great lad. Honestly, he's a great lad, and I'm really, really pleased to have him in it. And 100%, those three, they're already going to come into a really, really good dressing room. But I know those three lads coming in, they're not going to rock the boat in that dressing room. They're great lads, and we're really looking forward to working with all of them.
And what will his experience of getting promoted last season, what will that experience do for everyone else as well?
Well, first of all, it'll bring competition. The experience bit as well, I think he is very experienced, but he's only 29. So, he's got some good mileage left in him. He's great in and around the place, got great legs for running. I mean, I haven't inspected them. You can do that maybe, Mary, but not for me. So, yeah, I mean, it's another area where we wanted to strengthen, and it was getting more and more difficult as the window was going on, because there are few of those players. And what else he does as well, he can play right back, he can play right wing back, and on the contrary to what was put out yesterday, I know something was put out about there being a recall. There is no recall, so which is probably, I think, in the moments where everybody's snowed under, that first of all there was a recall put in there, and then we said we didn't want that. So thankfully Sunderland adhered to our request with that. So I just needed to correct that. I know that went out last night, but it isn't actually true.
And also, just quickly looking at Tuesday night, the very young squad, and I know you were very happy with them.
Yeah.
Just how have they been around the squad, and what have they been like since last week?
Well, great. They've been great, which is why they got that opportunity. And that was one of the games where they would get an opportunity. Whether we'll be as young against a Stockport or a Port Vale, I don't know the answer to that. But that was the great opportunity, because I knew they would be playing lads that would be only a little bit older than themselves. So we would have to be mindful in the next couple of games, but I was really, really pleased with them. I mean, when you look at it, Wolves were the better team the other night. We understand that, but they're a team that's been together for quite a long time, and I thought our kids were great, and they will get so much out of that. And also, with them playing in front of the supporters as well, that's quite important for them, because whilst it ends up being what you would call a low-key first team game, it's actually quite a big game for those lads, because number one, they're playing in the stadium, and number two, they're getting a crowd, so there's pressure for them, so they get to understand what it's all about. And we were delighted with them the other night, absolutely delighted. It was great. It was really great to watch them, because I've seen them for so long now down here, and I've seen them develop, and seen them last year, and see them come back this year a bit older, a bit bigger, a bit stronger. So it was great to see them, and all the boys were there the other night, and all the boys are in the dressing room afterwards. So it shows there's a real connection between the first team and the academy, which doesn't always happen at every club.
You've mentioned a couple of times the spirit in the squad. What is it that makes that spirit and that makes it feel good?
I don't know. You'll have to ask the players that. I don't know.
Perfect. Well, can I just get a little update as well on Dan Udo, obviously going off on Saturday? How's he and what's happening there?
Well, it's not really good news about Dan. It's not really good news. the scan has shown that he's torn his cruciate ligament, which was my biggest fear last weekend. As soon as I looked at him and I saw the moment, I thought, he might be in trouble here. So, he'll be probably missing the rest of the season, which is obviously a huge disappointment for Dan and for us. But that it needs to settle down because there's a bit of swelling in the knee, and he'll probably have the op. I want to say the 10th of September, but there's been a lot going on. I might not have that correct, but I want to say the 10th of September is when he's penciled in, and he'll have that anterior cruciate reconstructed.
And how, I know he had a stop-start pre-season as well, the ankle injury. So, just how is he in himself? It must be, as a player, it must be devastating. Have you had a chance to speak to him? Well,
of course I have. Yeah. I mean, I spoke to him about it the other day when we got the results of the scan. So, I mean, he's fine now. But at the time, I remember when I did mine, both of them, that it's a real gut-wrenching conversation that somebody has to have with you. So I brought him in the office the other day. It was just me, him and Dan, the physio, and just said to him, look, this is how it is. You can't dress it up any other way. Huge disappointment, but just said to him that he'll be looked after, and once he gets the operation done, he's got some great thighs, as strong as anything, and he'll be back. We just can't put any time scales on anything, but he'll be back.
And when we spoke a couple of weeks ago, you said about maybe having a bit of an update on Aidan O'Brien.
Yeah. Well, the update is he's still a couple of weeks away. That's probably the update. But he's going to be, he's going to be. So, there's not a lot. He's doing well. He's doing well. He's back out on the grass. He's running. But we just have to be so careful with things. We'd rather have all of them and everybody available. But, he's on the grass, moving very well. Elliot Bennett on the grass doing even more, so they will be close to a return, but it still is weeks as opposed to days.
And another promoted side tomorrow, just thoughts on that game?
Another promoted side away from home, exactly the same as last week. When a team comes up, always difficult. So I mean, full of respect, as we do for everybody, but we want to go there and we want to try and win the game, and we want to be determined, and that's it really. Nothing really changes, other than now we don't have to think about a transfer window anymore.
Perfect, thank you.
Pleasure.